All right, we are connected for the Monday news update. And as always, looking forward to connecting and sharing my 2 cents on a variety of subject matter. And it looks like the squeeze is not just on gold and silver, but copper as well. And so you know it's really bad when you have very large online dealers selling out of copper of all kinds, rounds, bars, you name it. And it's just this thing right here, copper. A copper round that is helping the world recognize the dangers of being in these things by themselves. So we're going to talk about that and a lot more. But as always, for those who are plugged in, looking forward to connecting, looking forward to sharing my 2 cents. And more importantly, I want to hear from you. So feel free to share thoughts, ideas, suggestions in the comment section and chat, because it's a good way for the community to gather and to really try to process all these things that we're witnessing in what I consider to be real time. And so when copper becomes something of scarcity, you know we in some real trouble. And so I do have some thoughts, ideas around copper and the importance of, copper once again has been and is a monetary metal, even though its use case has always been at the fractional level, i.e. pennies. And so just knowing monetary history, you go back 200 years when, a copper penny was it was very useful in the fact that it was the equivalent of a slice of bread or something very small. Was actually pennies were used where a nickel and a dime, and when a day's wage was like a quarter, a nickel and a dime and a penny played a significant role in the average person's hands as far as helping them transact on a day-to-day basis. Whereas now, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, nobody really, uses them because they've been debased as far as their contents. But then again, we're witnessing how a simple round can retain value. And I do believe that it is probably better and easier in the days ahead to actually exchange rounds because they'll hold some type of value relative to what you're trying to purchase. So this is a new way of looking at the opportunities that lie ahead. So we're going to talk about that a lot more. But before I move forward, as always, for those who are plugged in, hit that thumbs up, like, subscribe, share, check mark wherever you're watching from, so people can realize that we talk about a good assortment of things over here. So let me move forward. Let me just jump right into it. Let me just share with you, as always, for those wherever you're watching from, like to let you know that it's nice and cold here, 17 degrees in Metro Detroit area. So definitely let me know where you're watching from. Put your temperature wherever you're at. I do like to see people from all over the world, and some in warmer areas and some in even colder areas. So it's a good way to check in and see where we all plugging in from. So feel free to do that. And also, for those who might be new, you never know, I want to encourage you, if you have not, take a chance and test your silver IQ. 15 quick questions make a world of difference to helping you understand the importance of monetary literacy, which is what all this is boiling down to. Those that understand their history are better, have a better chance at not repeating a lot of the things that we've all or our ancestors witnessed back in the day. So there's just something for my people there. Links in the description if you want to check it out. All right, let's just jump right into it. Gold and silver, we got to touch on that as well. And it looks like because of this copper squeeze that's underway, I'm going to have to pay attention to copper more so as well. And so here we got 93.92, and it looks like it's on its way up. Crimex is opening up, and so we'll see if they don't slam it down. But here comes $100 spot price soon enough. But then again, we know it's not about the actual spot price. It's more so what you pay when you go to checkout. And so I got some stuff to share about that as well. So it's going to be interesting. But, of course, gold is doing its thing, all-time high territory, which is basically saying all-time low in fiat terms. So let me just check in and look at the fiat chart because it's been a minute. And so I like to do the inverse charts showing those who may not be aware of monetary history what it's like to reside in a currency that is failing in real time. So let me go to silver here. And so this is the last year's worth of activity, as you see above my head here. This is silver over the last year. So from January last year at the same time, we'll go January 19th. January 19th of 2025, silver was $30.36 around this exact time. Fast forward today, it's so think about this. Silver, as you can see, is up. Look how much silver is up in 1 year's time. This is what silver has done in 1 year's time. It's up 209.19% in a single year when measured against this thing here. Man, that is a wealth transfer. And for those who might be coming to the party late, meaning that you don't know what you've missed out on, it's never too late. You're just going to pay more, that's all. And so this is what you've lost in relative purchasing power. Holding on to paper IOU nothings too long. The average person who's just solely been relying upon these has lost 67%, over half of your ability to secure a certain amount of weight. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how much Federal Reserve notes you have on a screen. It's more so about how much weight you are able to secure to protect and preserve everything you work hard for. And of course, you know that. So cheers up, hit that thumbs up button if you know that. Okay. All right, let's keep it moving. I want to jump right into it. I came across all types of things, and so I want to just go right to this. Apmex, on this entire page here, there's not a single thing available. And look at the abundance of options they had. And so think about this. Everything says alert me, which pretty much signals that there's nothing there. So it's either they didn't stock up enough, or what they had, someone came in and cleaned them out. But one thing I do like about this page here is the abundance of options of rounds and bars. And they're all basically just clones and copies of what people tend to buy in the form of silver, because even there's not even this many gold options. And so silver being literally silver right now becoming the primary focus because of its 40, 50 year suppression or beyond rather. And copper always been the poor man's metal because it's been in abundance and is not readily used for anything other than the commercial use for housing, pipes, plumbing, copper wires, stuff like that. But now from activity like this, copper is literally returning back towards its monetary properties, meaning that it is becoming a more scarce asset as well because of the inability to supply the demands from the industrial side. Nevertheless, the problems is going to happen on the monetary side because your average Joe and Jane will be able to secure some silver, not as much as they would want, and definitely nowhere near as much gold as they will want. And so where will they run? They're going to run to where they are able to get the most of that particular thing. And clearly copper will be that, which is great because it gives people's options. Gold is meant for high net worth or kings. It's the money of kings for greater quantities of wealth preservation. Silver for 200 years was the primary medium people used day to day with quarters, nickels, dimes, things of that nature that they can, transact with to actually sustain themselves. Because prior to 1913, Henry Ford here in the Metro Detroit area, before he bumped the wages for industrial or manufacturers on the line to $5 an hour, it was well lower than that. And depending on what sector you're in, if you're out in the farms or whatever, you're making $1.50 a day, if that. And that was literally 4 quarters, 5 quarters type of wages, which were actual silver coinage. And so now copper hasn't been a useful day-to-day transaction medium since the 1800s or so, to where it was a part of everybody's particular, their coinage they had in their pocket. And it was actually useful for something. 5 nickels or 5 pennies rather could have bought you something of importance back in those days. So here we are now, full circle, 2026, and it's my suspicion that copper can be and will be used as a medium of exchange for very small items. And the reason I mention this is because most people right now, silver is $100 an ounce. Physical unit of silver is $100 an ounce. So literally, if you have, and so here we have, let me just get this on screen here. So here we have an American Silver Eagle. And of course, the U.S. Mint basically just gave the true Federal Reserve note valuation of this instrument here, and it's $169. And so here you have a generic Indian head. And so this is $100 an ounce. This is $100 ish. This is 169 ish, according to what the United States Mint, which is the legal authorized issuer of U.S. money, says that that this particular coinage that they make is worth. So 169, 100, and so this is just the people's money. But then again, this is where it's going to get interesting, because this copper round, I paid $1.50 for it years and years ago, and now getting one of these things is $5, $6, depending on $4, $5, $6. So literally, you see the value that in Federal Reserve notes term, it is appreciated, nominally speaking, to where this right here is say $5. This could be exchanged for something of $5 to $10 of value if the person knows what they're receiving. So I can see these actually circulating easier and faster because of what we're witnessing right now. And so beyond Apmex literally not having any, I had to go find some. And so next place to go is SD Bullion. And as you can see here, they have some left. So here we have some things are sold out, but they apparently have the copper bar here. They have the same Lincoln bust 1 ounce silver round, the one I have in my hand here. As you can see, it is as low as $4.99. And let me just click on it, because you can see, of course, there's different prices for it. So literally here we have the same coin, but one of them is $6. Check wire, Bitcoin, paying Bitcoin is $6.15. The pay card or PayPal is $6.34. So think about this: $6.34 for extra large penny of pure 3.9 fines. I'm sorry, let me see. This is a 3.9 fine copper. And so literally copper, that $6 is enough for a person to make a transaction with of some kind. Hand to hand, I need this, I'll give you this. And if this becomes something that people actually utilize for money again, this is a full-fledged reset of our monetary system, because not only has gold become a international wealth preservation tool for the banks themselves as collateral, tier 1 collateral, silver now is becoming something that the average Joe and Jane recognizes as the people's money, and we're watching it climb. And so next, we got copper. Ain't that about something? Copper is here, people. And so this is not one of the things where like, oh man, like I don't want to miss out. Technically speaking, to have a more, in my opinion, a more diversified approach, you should have, according to your strategy, portions of wealth preservation in a variety of things, so that you're diversified in the sense that you are able to have different time points to where you may unload some, or you may, borrow against some, you may exchange some. So like having a well thought out game plan as to how you want to navigate in the days ahead, realizing that it's not about here and now, it's about after the reset, during the rebuilding phase, you having some tangible liquidity that you can use as core capital, because you won't be able to use Federal Reserve notes and the digital representation of them according to this system, because that's a part of the reboot. So the banking system is going to go through an overhaul. The currency we use on the day-to-day side of things will definitely change, i.e. stablecoin, CBDC, whatever this administration rolls out, because as of now he ran on no CBDCs, but they're very pro stablecoin, which is just a different type of digital currency. So literally, once again, we don't know what's coming, but we know one thing: at the end of the day, this will become your greatest financial liability, because this representation here will be created in abundance, and they probably will not end up creating as many digital representations as they have in times past, to where we see paper notes on the street. That won't happen. They'll just basically cut off your access to physical paper, force you into a digital wallet of some kind, and from that digital wallet, you'll have to connect to your digital ID and everything else to transact in order to get your universal basic allowance, or UBI. So those are the things that I foresee coming. So having something in your control that you have in the form of a copper round could go a long way, in my opinion. Okay, so that's just that. But before I move forward, as always, I appreciate everybody for checking in. Yeah, these are going to be anything that comes from the periodic table that has a metallic structure. You got rhodium, all your iniums, anything that you can actually extract from the ground and coin it into something, whether it's a bar, a coin, or a round, will carry extreme value because they're scarce and they're from the earth and they're not something that can just be created out of thin air at the drop of a dime. And so it's those things that will retain value rather than the things that come in abundance. And so people eventually, before spring, will wake up. So there's going to be such a great surge towards tangible wealth before spring as things tighten up, as things become tougher, as things become more obvious that we're not in an economic boom. We're in a depression. It's just a modern day depression to where technology allows the government to cover up all the issues we're having. And then you got an administration right now that's hard pressed on capturing lands using tariffs as the financial weapon of choice. And it's only so much he can do before he pissed the world off to where they are forced to literally just dump our debt outright. Like, who wants to hold on to non-performing debt liabilities, as I call them, for much longer? And so literally gold, silver, and copper will continue to surge. And then it's going to just be a metal squeeze and all metals. And that's the part where it's going to get ugly because, once again, if it gets out of hand, where the banks no longer are able to function properly, where people start withdrawing funds from their bank account to go out and buy things, and or on the banking side, they start noticing their average customer, which is their depositors, swiping their cards at online dealers, and or people swiping their cards, whether it's debit or credit, to acquire tangible assets directly. They'll know the overall sentiment of the people, that their people are concerned and they're wanting out of that old system. And that's where things will get very, 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 very spooky. But that's just me. But I got lots of other headlines, articles to highlight the overall trend of the monetary structure. But as always, before I do that, let me just get into some things right here. They can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, and support. You see, the big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters now more than ever. Introducing the Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for freedom. See, with the Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. You can buy digital assets like Tether, TetherGo, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button. And when you want to support your creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators, securely, instantly, and without interference. See, this isn't a credit line that they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. So yours to protect your future, yours to protect your family. So when the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics, it's about freedom that comes with ownership and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download the Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. You got true ownership, true protection, and true financial freedom. And that's worth paying attention to. Back to the show. All right, so let's get into some of the headlines that I definitely want to touch on. So I have lots of things, lots of tabs here opened, and let's just jump through them. So here is something that came out over the weekend. Gold to silver ratio hits 13-year low as silver 170% surge leaves gold behind. What should investors do? Well, it's obvious without having to go this far. Get your weight up. Stack heavy. Do whatever you can do to protect and preserve everything you worked hard for. Because literally, any future promises to pay, you can't count on those. Because literally, between you thinking you own it and the person that's a fiduciary over your account of whatever kind, annuities, pensions, 401k, you name it, any financial product created, that large gap between what you think and what they hold, there's so many counterparty risks to where if one thing breaks, it all unravels. And of course, any of these products that are created, they are not insured. And so if you cannot insure it, that means that you carry 100% of the risk. Just think about that one. Okay. So outside of this here, this gold, silver, surge. So it's actually 14 years. What do I mean? Here on the chart, gold to silver ratio. So let me move myself out the way here. So as you can see over here, we're at now 49 to 1, meaning 49 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. So here we are, and as you see this line behind me, we haven't seen this type of valuation going back to March of 2012. So in 40 days, 20, 30 days-ish, it'll be 14 years. This is a 14-year low that we're approaching. And it's my suspicion that between today and March 1st, we're going to see a much greater decrease in this ratio. Because within 30 days, obviously a lot can happen. And with all this tariff stuff and the responses that will come. So not only does Trump have a hit out on Europe now surrounding the capturing of Greenland, but it's going to force Europe now to pivot from everything that they've been working towards. And ultimately, what that's going to do is cause more volatility in the markets and less confidence in U.S. financial markets. So you're going to be forced to rethink what you're holding, what you consider to be your asset, and you're going to get into something that you can have more confidence in, which will end up being tangible, physical wealth. And so, once again, in 30 days, I can see the ratio going from 49 to 1 down. This would be tinfoil hat-ish, but I can see it going to the 30s because gold will continue to surge, but silver will surge higher as we run into the supply issue. And so what am I talking about? Let me just give you some more then. So what we're going to witness in a shorter time frame is just more what I would consider to be general and I would just say general, just more general price discovery, and price discovery in a new form of what you have to pay when you go to check out, because the price will rise faster than the readily available supply with dealers. So let me share with you some things that I marked on X where people are sharing their interactions and their experiences. So this is from Saved by Grace. Shout out to her. I don't know who she is, but, I just noticed she posts something, 9,000 followers. And it says Apmex have U.S. Minute Eagles for a 102. It might take up to 6 weeks for delivery, but they won't cancel you. And so once again, it's good to say if I refresh the page now, that price has changed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that. So we see that there's no copper, but let's see what the Eagles are talking about. And it's interesting that all this is taking place at the 250th year anniversary. And so let me see what the Eagles are talking about. United States coin, American Eagles. So let's see what the updated price of these mediums are. So here we have 101, so 102.59. Then we got random year 106, which actually, as it says here, is 108 at the minimum. Then we got burnished American Silver Eagle. We got 119. Then we got 1 ounce proof. Random year with box of certificate of authenticity. So, yeah, so this is, so literally, dealers now will run into a very tight situation because they're selling metals for cheaper than what they're selling U.S. coinage coming from the United States Mint at a much cheaper rate than what the U.S. Mint is selling them for. So after this batch of Eagles run out that they're holding on to, so no matter how many monster boxes they have, once they run out of these American Silver Eagles, they're going to have to stock up from the United States Mint. And when they go to restock up from the United States Mint, they're going to be paying significantly more to have some inventory to be able to actually sell. And this is the problem that they're not really factoring in, because they literally should right now change their prices to base them upon what the U.S. Mint is charging now, so that they can be adjusted for the change that's coming. And so give me a sec. Let me find. I was looking for give me a second. I was looking for the actual U.S. Mint. I had it up here. Where's it at? Where do I got it up here? Give me a second. Do I have the page? I don't have it. But give me a second, because I wanted to touch on that because it is very important. So let me go back here. Give me 1 second. Bear with me, people. Where'd it go? I had it up here, but I lost it. Because I want to share with you the new set price given to us by the United States Mint, which is the true issuer of United States coinage. And let me just go to the U.S. Mint. Man, I'm wasting time. Apologize for the... Let me go back. Okay, so let me bring it up here. Okay, so bring this up here. So just, U.S. Mint. I had it bookmarked, I thought. And so I'm starting to think that it's not a coincidence that here we are now, the 250th countdown to America's 250th anniversary. So literally at our 250th anniversary, we're experiencing a monetary reset in reference to debt and tangible wealth, aka sound money, starting to decouple drastically to where it's hard to hide. And so some of this has me thinking like, I wonder, is this meant to be the catalyst by the facilitators of this reset to literally ramp up their digital plans, which is still in play, because Davos starts this week, like today. They're in Switzerland for the plans that they're working towards, the future that they have in store for us. So that's still underway, because there's been no arrest by 47, because he can't arrest his buddies, the ones that put him in office and the one he's pledged loyalty to. But as we can see here on the screen, we see 173, 169, and these are American Eagles. So 2004, 2005, and so when 2006 is ready, it's good to say they're going to be the same price. And so if this is the way that the United States Mint is starting to price silver, they're front-running future spot prices ahead of time so that they can cover their rear ends and they won't lose out on making a profit, because they always charge higher than the average for these types of non-circulating coins. So they always charge more for these as numismatic value. But clearly here, these proof of coins, literally, they're just extra shiny, whatever. They're special in nature. But here we have the uncirculated ones, which these are one to the far left. As you can see, the difference in color. And so these are the shiny ones all the way through. And then here are the ones that are sold to dealers or whatnot. So 169-ish will be the price floor that is being set by the United States Mint as of now. And so that price there will probably last for a month or two, given this new surge that we're witnessing in the supply crisis of physical silver above ground is readily available to retail. Because once again, we're still in the early phases of retail FOMO. So my suspicion is that this 169 is just beginning. And once we actually reach that price figure, according to their spot prices, then they're going to have to readjust that. And eventually, they're either going to stop selling silver coinage, gold, probably coinage in general, because Besant, Trump, they're going to literally take the U.S. Mint offline, which is not constitutional. But then again, at this current moment, what does the Constitution mean anymore to them? But ultimately, what they're going to do is stop selling government-issued gold and silver, and they're going to focus more on that clarity, regulatory clarity of cryptos. They're going to try to replace that because they need that wealth boom. Wealth boom, they would prefer to come in digital tokens rather than physical metals. And so by then, if they take the U.S. Mint offline, hypothetically, they're going to definitely have more regulatory clarity for cryptos, because this administration would prefer crypto to succeed because it makes it easier for them to issue the digital tokens that's coming in the future, and tokenization and everything else. So that's just something to consider. And then let's not forget who's really driving this newfound surge. It happens to be centered around the Shanghai silver price in dollars. So as of right now, as you can see here, the benchmark closed at 103.35. And here we are now, 93, 94-ish dollars for an ounce of silver. So there's still that $10 or so gap, which will continue to increase. So in order to really see where things are heading, keep an eye on Shanghai silver prices, and then we'll get a more accurate depiction of what the price is. But as always, that's just what we see on a screen, because it doesn't matter, because whatever you actually have to pay when you check out, when you buy something, that's the real price. So that's the real price moving forward. But anyway, lots of other things happening in the gold and silver space. But with that being the case, I just want to check in real quick, share my 2 cents on some things we're paying attention to. Looks like copper is the new I'm trying to give it a term. If gold is the money of kings, silver the people's money, copper will be the actual coinage that can be used in day-to-day transactions at some point. So that's just something to consider. So long story short, if you have access to or can go save your old pennies, I think it's pre-81, 82 pennies, which are pure copper. And if you have some discretionary funds and want to actually go out and purchase copper rounds or bars, more preferably copper rounds, because they'll be easier to move rather than a bar. But then again, because whatever you play today, well, as we can tell, it's going to appreciate, nominally speaking, in fiat terms, therefore offering you more potential purchasing power. So once again, just something worth considering. Curious what you guys think. If you found value, hit that thumbs up, drop a comment down below, share thoughts and feedback or whatnot if you're watching the replay, just so I can learn from you guys and see what other subjects are worth touching on outside of the monetary things, which is solely what I'm going to focus on now, and link in the geopolitics and all the other things that it's all tied into it, because it's literally, it's all interconnected. But anyway, be